I mean, I'm not sure if you ever been around people and they just treat you like a number. And I think in this business in particular, good chemistry is super important. Yes. How is everybody doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. Well, I have a great program today. It'll be fast. Does anybody have any scenarios that they ran across this weekend?
I do.
Oh, perfect. Share it with us.
I'm in a transaction. It didn't happen this weekend. It's been in the makings because I'm in a transaction with a buyer that's purchasing a condo that the sellers are Japanese citizens. So they have to do the FERPTA.
Okay.
So I've never dealt with FERPTA all these years, and I called Car Legal and asked them questions about FERPTA because there's a withholding that the foreign sellers have to, they take it from the buyer's proceeds, of course, from the buyer's payment, but title company isn't really responsible for this. And a lot of times the IRS will come back and ask that buyer, where's our money, So you have to be really careful. And I got a list of specialized FERPTA people that do FERPTA. And it's a neutral party, and it's good because they will hold responsibility and be liable to say, hey, we mailed in that payment or what have you, because you don't want your buyer to have to be paying money that they don't owe because it was somebody else skipped the U.S. Not that they're going to skip it, but things happen. People make mistakes, and title isn't really specialized in FERPTA. That's not they don't want to take responsibility.
Right. So where exactly are you on the transaction?
Just in the beginning, because the sellers, they wanted to say, okay, give us 90 days so we could file for a waiver for FERPTA. We go, okay, we'll do that, but under these conditions, these are our terms, and my buyer could back out anytime he wants and get his EMD back. I put that in there clearly, because if he changes his mind, I don't want him to lose his money. So they said yes, and then I got information about the FERPTA professionals, and I gave it to title, and we did a three-way because they wanted to get my buyer's social security and address so they could fill out the FERPTA. And I'm like, I don't do that. I don't put nobody at risk because we don't know these people. So I go, we'd rather go with a neutral party. That way my buyer's backed up, because a neutral party is going to do the FERPTA dealing. I don't want to be in no court case or I want to sell this and move on to the next.
That's right, Grace. Move on. Move these properties as fast as we can.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I saw you sold the Daly City one. The condo.
Yes, over in Crown Colony.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well, thanks.
I have a potential seller. She's getting ready to sell, but she hasn't taken the steps yet. She got cold feet, so I'm keeping her in the loop.
Like I mentioned, make sure you're just constantly following up and keeping in touch with people, not necessarily talking about real estate, but of course, if you could have real estate conversations, better yet, but just keeping in contact with as many people as you possibly can is really the key. And, once you start having many years in this business, then, the credibility comes into experience, and then people just start calling. But I think, many of us who have been in the business for a long time, we also can't get complacent to, get comfortable and say, yeah, my phone is always going to ring. No, we always have to be active, advertising, marketing, pop buys, and the more natural it is, and then the easier it is, right? I mean, the more our business will grow. I think a lot of people ruin their businesses because they sort of just stop everything. And it's going to take some time off. I mean, as many vacations I take every year, while I'm on vacation, I'm still posting. I'm still promoting, and everything I do, well, pretty much everything I do in social media is for building branding purposes. But of course, one other thing why I'm on social media is my digital history. I want my
Yeah.
grandchildren to know who I am, what I am, and if there's ever a fire in my house,
Yeah.
that I don't need to run and put all the photos inside the car, because when people get older or when there's a fire, some of the most precious things that people cherish are photos, right? Anyways, we're gonna get into this 5 steps of getting more referrals. So everyone, this subject is really something that I personally like to do, because since 80 to 90% of my business, and a lot of agents who's been in the business for so long, this is the same method that they use. So, please take some notes on this. But the first one is doing an NPS, and that is basically taking a net promoter score, and that's like taking a survey from your clients. You don't have to get fancy with this. It's just getting a survey, talking to your clients, and finding out if they would refer you, right? You want to know if you're doing your job. And sometimes asking people, your customers, or even your friends and family, like, hey, would you refer me? And if I could improve, where would it be? And this is basically asking questions. I know this might not be really something that you've ever done, but I think if you email a survey to people, that you can really get an idea of where you are. If you know where you are, like let's say you ask your last 5 customers, like, hey, I just have a few questions. You have a few minutes to chat, and you ask them, would you refer me on our last transaction? What could I have done better? And you just ask these questions. And the good thing is that you'll know, and tell them to be honest. And I think once you really get an idea, then you can up your game, because a lot of people. Here's a good example. There's somebody within our network who promotes white glove service for their Airbnb management, right? But then when I ask the customers that he's taking care of, they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't even get my funds from this guy, right? I mean, so he's managing people's properties, and he promotes white glove service, but his customers are saying otherwise. I'm not sure if he knows this. I have not told him, but I think that's really good to know, because if his customers are saying, hey, he's a lousy manager, well, obviously then he's going to lose business and probably maybe go out of business, right? So, anyways, first one is take a survey. It's called the NPS. You could Google it. Number 2, plant the seed during a transaction. I'm sure you heard this before, but to get referrals, you want to do it when you're in escrow, right? Because it's a lot of these, when the customer's in escrow and their mind is on escrow, closing, furniture, contracting, repairs, their antennas are up. And usually the coworkers of that buyer seller, are they're attracting, and they're having conversations with their neighbors and their friends and coworkers. And this is a good time to plant the seed. And I know one of my mentors, he sells hundreds of homes in San Diego. His price point's over $1 million, average price point's over $1 million. So what he does and how he builds his business is, from the beginning of the transaction, he always tells the customer, if I go exceed your expectations, please refer me 3 clients. And then his assistants, during the email and during the text threads, as they are providing information on the disclosures, the escrow information, the communication, the assistants of this agent, they ask, hey, by the way, your agent had mentioned that you're going to refer 3 customers by the time we close escrow. And so during the whole process of the escrow, people are asking this customer for referrals. And so by the time they get to the signing, they're sort of pressured to give 3 referrals. But think about that. So every customer he closes, they're constantly asking in a professional way for a referral. And that's how he built his business. He sells 600-700 homes a year doing this method. So you want to plant the seed during the transaction. It is the best time. And now number 3, now you got to ask. You got to ask people for a referral. Okay. I mean, if you don't ask, you won't receive. Very simple, right? And I always ask. And the thing is, I'm hired by many brokers and agents to do their own transaction. Just this weekend, I was asked to check out one of their properties and to prepare. Actually, 2 this week, 1 broker and 1 agent. And it's funny because agents and brokers sometimes don't like to do their own transaction, so they would just hire out an agent, which is wise. So you got to ask. Okay. So number 4, now you got to follow up. You heard me say this. Fortunately, this is one of my strengths. I could easily follow up. I have no problem following up. I have no problem texting, but follow up is the key. And if you want to lead a conversation on the follow up, you could use what is called a Ford or form. I always use form. They're relatively the same, but form is family, occupation, recreation, and message, right? So when you're conversating with people, you could use this method to build rapport, because sometimes, of course, you just can't say, hey, I'm following up. Sometimes you have to have a little bit more grace in your conversation. So using the form method, which is family, occupation, recreation, and message, is a really good way to just have a conversation. How's your family? So how's work? How's your golf game going? Anyways, I'm following up because I know that you mentioned that you're thinking about selling 6 months from now. I just want to be prepared, right? So that is number 4. And the last thing is go to extra mile. And this area, it's very simple. As Brian Buffini says, pop buys. You just pop up at their house. You just knock. Yeah, they might be surprised, but usually, they open the door and they're a little bit nervous. But once the ice is broken, hey, nice to see you, Jeff. And then, a lot of times they just welcome you in. You have a real quick 5-10 minute conversation, but you just make it quick. You just sort of, hey, I'm just in the neighborhood. I just stopping by. I don't have much time. I have an appointment. Just want to say hi. How are you? How's your wife? How's the kids? Okay, well, anyways, it's great. I mean, some simple things is you can go to the dollar store and buy something for $1. And like in some places in the East Coast, I've heard they would buy like antifreeze or some coolant, and that's $1. And they would just stop by the dollar, and then when they do a pop by, they just drop off, hey, the weather is changing, and here's some Freon or coolant, and then for your car, or some windshield cleaner, because it snows out there in the East Coast. But you can get creative. And so going to extra mile, pop buys. I mean, I do simple things. I bring pies at Thanksgiving. I know some people in San Mateo County, they give pumpkins out a week before Halloween. And so they fill up their SUV and they just go by and drop off pumpkins. And then I know other agents, they drop off flags on 4th of July weekend, which is like you could buy them for like $1 or 50 cents. Buy by the bulk, you just walk to your customers, or if you're farming, put them right at the corner of the lawn. So there's many ways to go the extra mile, and all this is just branding and marketing. And the more you do it and the more consistent you are, the better off you'll be. And even if you've been in the business for a long time, doing this simple method, this is what's going to build your business. It's be a long referral type business, because at the end of the day, you don't want to always be a hunter. And that's the thing about some agents. It just blows my mind. That's why I've been doing a lot of training on database, the foundation. I'm going to be getting into CRMs and how to set that up. But I can't believe that some agents are not have a systematic, because as we get years into our business, we want to make our life easier. And the way to build this business is, these are the methods. They're simple. And think about it, but you're running a multi-million-dollar business. You must build a system, even if it's as simple as this. This is not complex. It's a very customer service oriented style. This is for referrals. I mean, if you're looking for online leads and you're closing online leads, you want to do a lot of volume. Online leads is a great way. You just got to understand that you're going to put the work into it, or leads, that's going to take much more effort. Referral based business, this here is really the key for longevity in our business. And so referrals, but everybody's building referral business takes time, but the more you concentrate on building this type of business, the better off you'll be. So anyways, that is the 5 steps of getting more referrals. One last bonus thing. I know I've been talking to one of the agents within our organization, and I've been harping on her. Go to your local community and meet the top 50 most influential people in your community. All the top restaurants, all the top restaurants. You could pick categories: Thai restaurant, Italian restaurant, local cafe, right? Meet the fire chief, the police chief, the councilman. You start building that database, and you target them as a way, like, hey, I'm just calling. My name is Jeffrey DeJesus. I'd like to invite you for coffee. I'm somebody in the community. I'm a realtor, and I'm building my business. And you just give them the compliment. You Google them, and you find out a little bit about them. Use the form: family, occupation, recreation, and message. Hey, how are you? I know you're a councilman in our community. How's your family? You married? So are you a councilman? Do you have other occupation? Do you do anything else from that? And I know that you're taking care of our community. What's going on? Any future plans? And by the way, can we have coffee, right? So that's a way of just having a conversation with people. I know there's many ways to have it, but I use that format because it's very simple. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And so if you have any questions, reach out, and we'll talk on the next Monday. Thank you.